So today we started off with a dressage session, and whenever I begin a dressage session I always like to just walk around the arena, collect my thoughts and try and work out what I'm going to work on that day, and I think that's really important. I think it's good just to collect your thoughts and have a little bit of a plan of what you want to do. Once I've decided what I want to do, I'll then just have a little warm up, and that's just like a gentle trot or a canter around the arena. I always give the analogy, it's a bit like a football player. You always do stretches and a little warm-up before you start playing the game, and I see it the same for horses. So I'll just have a nice little trot around the arena, and part of that too is trying to get the horses nice and relaxed and in a right mental frame. Then go, right, now's time to start working, and then I'll start working on what that horse needs, and quite often we'll be working on suppling the horses and trying to make them bend their legs and be nice and soft in the rein and that sort of thing. So we'll work our way through various exercises depending on what each horse needs to do. And so today I was doing a bending exercise, which can really transform horses. So one of the strongest muscles in a horse's body is in its neck, and sometimes horses will set their neck against riders, and then you can really feel it in the rein. If you can just bend the horse a little bit one way or the other, it will stop the horse setting their neck against you. And I find this is a really good exercise. I like to do it off the wall, where I trot along. I keep the horse's body very straight, and then all I do is try and bend the neck. When the horse bends and becomes soft, I'll then give them the rein and be really soft back to them, and then bend them the other way. So it's just sort of like a very sort of gentle suppling of the neck exercise, but I do find it's one of those exercises that can make a massive difference to a lot of horses. Then when I feel I've achieved what I wanted to, I cool them down, and that's fairly similar to my warm-up, where I just give them a bit of a jog around the arena, take the pressure off them. I just want to make sure that if I give them the rein that they don't run away or speed up too much. So it's all about keeping them relaxed and in a good frame of mind. One of my favourite exercises when it comes to jumping is canter poles. I think they're really good for any horse at any level. I'll start off with just some nice easy canter poles, so 3 paces apart. Sometimes on more experienced horses I might make it even a bit longer. And once a horse has learnt to do that, I'll pay particular attention to trying to keep the horses really straight, trying to keep them soft in their body and keep them concentrating on what I'm asking them. And then when they've got good at that, quite often I'll do raise poles on the more advanced horses. And what we're trying to achieve there is to make the horse bend his hind leg or her hind leg, so that they can learn to push off the ground when it comes to jumping. If a horse scuttles along the ground, they don't have much push, and that's sort of the advantage of doing raise poles. And then once they can do that, then quite often I'll progress into having a jump at the end of the poles, so that I can keep a real connection between doing my dressage and the jumping. I think it's a really good idea to have a plan of how you're going to warm up at a competition. I always like to start with the basics of being able to speed up and slow down, and turning left and turning right, and I'll quite often do the turns through small circles, so the horses have to be really supple in their body. So just basic control things before I start jumping. My first jump, I always like to do a cross. I think it's good for a couple of reasons. A cross encourages the horses to be nice and straight, and I think it's a good sort of nerve settler for the riders. Then I fairly quickly move on to doing an upright. I'm a believer in fresh horses jump the best, so I try not to do too many warm-up fences. So I will then move on to an upright. And then once I've done a few uprights, I'll make the uprights a bit taller. Quite often on an upright, I'll have the ground pole out a bit. And what that does is that helps the horses to get their shoulders back away from the fence, and that's what we want them to do. Once I've done that, I'll then move on to an Oxer. And quite often I'll do quite a wide Oxer, and what that does is that really gets horses jumping and trying really hard without having to jump too big. Once I feel comfortable with that, I'll then make the Oxer a lot narrower and then quite tall. And then what I do as a general rule is the last fence I do before I go into the arena is the same as what the first fence is. And traditionally in eventing it's always an Oxer. So I haven't seen too many uprights in a while as a first fence. So usually I'll finish on an Oxer.